Hello, everyone. We are Don't Mess with the Mamas, Mommas, with our motto, You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny. Today, we are doing something a little bit different. We are Zoom interviewing Gayle Mullins in our episode called Weaving Bonds Through Quilting. And just to tell you a little bit about Gayle, Gayle grew up in a small town in Ohio. It was such a unique area because she was exposed to many different ethnic cultures. Most memorable were the Amish. When she was growing up, she always wanted to be a veterinarian science major, but then she found out what she really wanted is to become a nurse. She worked in the Cleveland Clinic and later as a public health nurse. She eventually relocated to South Carolina to accept a nursing position with the Medical University of South Carolina. She's had many, many hobbies. Her father owned a small lumber yard and she loved wood. Even the scent of wood triggered her creativity. Later in life, she met a Mennonite girl who initially taught her how to quilt. She introduced her to patterns, fabrics, quilt designs, and this hobby has been with her for over 40 years. Wow. She also loves working with stained glass and hopes to do more of that in the future. Gail is very active in Charleston, South Carolina's largest quilt group called Cobblestone Quilters Guild. When Gail thinks about life, she equates it to a bike. Don't grip too tightly, don't let go, maintain a balance. So we're going to get started, and Carla's going to ask you the first question, Gail.
And the first question, Gail, is before you became an SDI Nichiren Buddhist, you had a fascinating upbringing. Tell us a little about that.
Oh, Carla, I'd be happy to. In the area that I grew up, it was very ethnic. We were in a little Italian block. Close to us were Greeks and Slovenians. And then if you went about 10 miles down the road, we were daily exposed to Amish. The Amish rode in buggies and horses, and it was a fascinating culture for me because it was so completely different from our culture. And we were called Yankees. And like any culture, there's the Reformed, and the Reformed were Mennonite. They allowed electricity in their house where the Amish had no electricity, and they schooled their children past eighth grade. So my friend Edith, who taught me how to quilt, was actually in college with me. So that's how I met her and had the interest. And eventually, when I went on after nursing, I took the job at Cleveland Clinic. I was exposed to a lot of Amish there who they don't have hospitalization. And so they would have the community would get together and have great big festivals and make like swings for the porch. They had wonderful food that they made, and they invited everybody to come and buy their goods. And at that festival, they had quilt auctions. And many years ago, they were going for like $700, $800. And I thought, oh, I'll never be able to afford one of those. But so I thought, well, I guess I'm going to have to take a quilt class. So that's the longest story short of that.
I love it. That's wonderful. Oh gosh. So how and why did you pursue quilting? It's such a unique and wonderful hobby.
Well, I love quilts. If I was going to say I'm addicted to something, it's definitely quilts and fabric stores. Um, I get so excited, it's unbelievable. I love the patterns. I love the creativity that goes with it. There's so much that you have to do. You have to be patient. You have to be precise, and you can create like a collage, like I'm looking at you right now. Out of fabric, we could take your face, make your faces, and make a collage out of what I see in the background. That's something new in quilting that we're doing. But there's traditional patterns, and there's many different kinds of quilts. You could have quilts that are patterns like Log Cabin and the Ohio Star, or you could have applique, where they're sewing pieces together on a large piece of fabric, or embroidery. A lot of you've probably seen on Netflix the movie about the Geechee quilters,
Mm,
and they told a story. They
mm.
told a story of where they came from and where they were now and what they went through. And those quilts are fabulous. If you ever get a chance, they come into the museum off and on.
Wow.
Mhm.
It's just when I'm quilting, time stops.
Mm.
Yeah.
Isn't that the ultimate creativity? Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. The ultimate absorption. What a wonderful gift you have, Carla.
What qualities do you need to be a quilter to become one?
Well, you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to learn to laugh at all the mistakes that you're going to make, because you sure do make a lot. Um, you also have to be precise because you're working with a ruler and you're picking fabrics and you're learning how to blend colors. So there's a lot that you're learning. Your eye has to, you look at something and you just, if it feels right, you're going to keep going forward. So creativity, a lot of patience, and precision, I would say.
And you also talked about quilting as a way to give back. In what way is it a way to give back?
We talked about the big group in Charleston called Cobblestone Quilters, and we have a lot of splinter groups all throughout the county. And one of the one of the groups that we donate to about right now 4 or 5 groups. One group is the Unchained Reentry,
Mm,
and Ramona Holmes was a young lady who came to talk to us a couple Saturdays ago, and it was a kind of a lecture where it stays with you for long after you've left the room. She talked about young ladies who have made mistakes in their life at a very young age.
mm,
And she works with young ladies who are now about 30 days coming out of prison. And there is no support groups whatsoever for women. And she talked about a lot of them are living in their cars.
mm.
They had children formally before going into prison, and they're trying to get their children back, but they can't get a job. And it was really a moving conversation. At that time, we were donating about 30 quilts to this Unchained Reentry, and she gave a quilt to each one of the young ladies that were coming out of prison. I think we have 3 in South Carolina that she supports prisons, and one in North Carolina on the border that she visits. She tries to help them find a job and get established, because there's really nothing out there for them. It was heartbreaking to hear that. Another one of the lectures that we had the month before was Doors to Freedom. In South Carolina, we have a very high rate of human trafficking. And she talked about the 2 homes that are here in the Charleston area that support the teenagers that are getting out of human trafficking. And I have to say that I wasn't familiar with that either. And that was heart-wrenching, because you have to really bring them into a home, and they're sequestered for a long time because they can't go to school, because a lot of the times they became involved in the human trafficking through school. So she talked about what a struggle it was to school them and then to work with their mental health, and their confidence. And she said she gave a quilt to one of the young ladies that was in the home, and the girl asked her, "Why are they giving us these quilts? We didn't deserve them." And so it was just heart-wrenching for us to hear that and what was going on with their lives. A lot of them became involved because family members put them into a situation,
Mm.
and the other ones, boyfriends through high school. So it was really tough to hear. And so you're giving back into the community, people who are really struggling, and you're hoping that it helps them.
You know, it's amazing. You are revealing things that very few people know about the
Yeah.
human trafficking in South Carolina. I mean, nobody would even imagine that. And it's interesting about you because here, you know, you became a nurse. You've always been in the giving back profession. It seems like even though you're no longer a nurse full time, you're giving back so much and such an important, worthy cause. Wow, thank you.
Let me ask you a question about the history of quilting. Do you have a, can you tell us about that?
I
How it
sure
started?
can. Quilting has been around for a very, very, very long time. Back to the 1600, they can date back. We in the United States are going to go back to probably the Civil War.
Mm,
During the Civil War, they actually, the women actually made quilts because the everybody was cold and they didn't have anything. After your clothes wore out, they would take anything and everything they can to make quilts. One of the quilts that I have, the whole back was a flour sack.
mm,
So they would use anything and everything about quilting. And then it's a fact of storytelling. They did a lot of storytelling through making of their quilts and the with the Black history. And then sewing machines came in the 19th century, and that helped them to put the quilts together, and they were a bit more constructed. And then they got into patterns, and then fabric became more available for them. But there's Paducah, Kentucky is the #1 quilting area in the United States, and they actually have a quilting museum there. Um, and everybody who's in the quilting world knows about Missouri Star. And Missouri Star is Jenny Doan works with Missouri Star. She actually owns it. She's away now in somewhere abroad, working with communities in need. But her daughter is going to be coming to a great big huge quilt show that is going to be in March of 2026. And she's going to come and start teaching classes for us when we have our big quilt show.
Another
So,
question. Oh, go ahead, finish. Uh,
no, that's okay. That's
okay.
okay. Go
Oh, I
ahead.
wanted to ask you, was there any particular quilt that you chanted about?
I don't know that I chanted about, but when I worked with Edith Armstrong, and she's the Mennonite young lady, it took us a year and a half to put together the top of this quilt. And I don't think I chanted. I did a lot of swearing. That's for sure. It was so difficult, and I couldn't wait for it to be done. It's a quilt that I absolutely love because I have so many stories behind it. When I was working on it, we were in a 3-bedroom home, and each one of my children had a bedroom. And then I would do all my sewing in the bed in our master bedroom. And my husband would say, I'm ready to go to sleep. So I'd have to take everything off the bed, and then he'd roll over and he'd poke himself with pins. So I
Ouch.
remember that. And now it's done. And Edith hand quilted it for me. Nowadays we have long arm machines, and we put the top and the batting and the back together, and they put it into the long arm machine, and it comes out as a blanket. So then Edith hand quilted it. So there's a lot of meaning in it,
How
and
wonderful. Wow.
I value it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we are fellow SGI Buddhists, and our final question, unless you wanted to add anything else, is have you been able to use your Buddhist practice to encourage others through your quilting experience?
In Buddhism, they have a symbol, and it's called the endless knot. And there's a lot of symbols and metaphors in Buddhism, but it's a geometric pattern that you see if you actually look for it. It states that there's no beginning and no end. It kind of represents a cause and effect. Every action has a ripple effect. And that's, if you think about it, what you've done in the past, you can't worry about what you've done in the past, and you can't worry about the future. You have to be mindful and just live in today. So that's kind of like very close to my heart with Buddhism.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So, Gail, if somebody wanted to get in touch, do they just look up Cobblestone Quilters Guild and it's indigenous to South Carolina, is that right? But Missouri
That's
Star.
correct.
I mean, how, if they wanted to get in touch, is that what they would do? Is there any other way that they would get in touch?
We have a online site, Cobblestone Quilters, and we meet the second Saturday of every month in Hanahan, and you can find that on the internet. And it's welcome to absolutely everybody. A lot of the speakers that have come to talk are now attending our meetings because it was funny when Arlene came to talk. She had been in prison, obviously, and she says, I really had this attitude about coming to talk about all these quilting women. Are they going to be like, attitudes and all that? She says, I'm shocked. I couldn't believe because we're 120 some strong, and we've all had a history and a past, and we know nothing's perfect. And we try not to ever judge, but
Yeah,
we'd welcome you and with open arms.
that's wonderful. Oh my gosh, this has been so wonderful. Well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add before I give encouraging words. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
Thank you for having me, girls. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
oh, we appreciate you so much.
True.
We have been talking with Gayle Mullins, and the theme for today's episode is weaving bonds through quilting. And Gayle is an absolutely shows how we weave bonds through quilting. Absolutely. So, our encouraging words for today is we always end with encouraging words, Gail. There is no one lonelier or more unhappy than a person who does not know the pure joy of creating a life for himself or herself. To be human is not merely to stand erect and manifest intelligence or knowledge. To be human in the full sense of the word is to live a creative life. And Gail, you have certainly been living a creative life in many, many, many ways. So
Thank
once
you.
again, we are, oh, go ahead, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I'd like to, if you don't mind, Arlena, I'd like to talk a little bit Garment of Destiny. That's going to be one
Yes,
aspect of the quilt show.
sure.
It's based on a quote by Martin Luther King,
Yes.
referring to the interconnectedness of people within the whole, woven together in a single fabric. And this is going to be, you had something from your mother, your father, your grandfather, and you're weaving it together into fabric or a coat or something that you're going to wear. That's going to be one of the aspects of the quilt show.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's so beautiful how history and creativity and quilting is just so, so rich and people are, you've enlightened people. You've certainly enlightened us today in many
Definitely.
respects. So once again, we
Or
are
don't
Don't
mess
Mess
with
with
the
the
mamas.
Mamas. And with our Mommas. And our motto is you
You
are
are
the
the
protagonist
of
of your
your
life,
life,
not
not
the
the
victim
victim
of
of
your
your
destiny.
destiny.
And you can find us on YouTube and other platforms as well. This has been very enlightening. Gayle Mullins, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
We
Thank you.
really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.